Hello to London. Hello to Canada. You're in Canada, right?
I'm in Canada.
Okay. She'll send me an email in a minute. I'm going to Malaysia. I'll be back in 3 weeks. It's like,
Or Hong Kong or Taiwan.
right. And hello to East Coast. So, hello, all of my Solve It sisters. Thank you, Annie, Dr. Annie, for joining me. Thank you, Francina Harrison, for joining me. And thank you, Dr. Yana, for joining me.
Absolutely.
Today, we're taping this show, and it is American Presidential Election Day. And while we're not really talking about the issues per se, I think that people don't realize that dealing with a presidential election in America is a very different experience around the country. And Brantina's on the East Coast, and I also wanted to talk to Canada and England because I wanted to get your perspective on how does this look to you? What does it look like it's going on, and what is the effect that your country perceives happens when we have our election? So, first of all, Francina Harrison is a career engineer. She is one of the most connected people. This year, she has seen President Obama twice, President Clinton
Three times.
President Clinton, and she's been in the White House. So she
Two times.
two times this year. This is this year, not her life. This is this year. Okay, I've only been to the White House as a little kid visitor. So Francina is absolutely the most connected, and but she lives in a red state that's anti the president for the most part. What does it look like? What does this election look like?
I got to tell you, yeah, again, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, my fellow Solve It sisters, for bringing you greetings from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And, whoever gets in the White House next year has to win Virginia. So Virginia is a critical state. And I'm going to tell you, I spent 2.5 hours in line. I got my little sticker right there to make sure. And I was very impressed at the long line. Since 5:30 this morning, the long lines, folks are turning out. So Virginia is critical. In my area of Virginia, it's a strong veteran presence. So all issues involving veterans is important. Military, big deal here. The biggest base in the world for the United States Navy is right here, 10 miles away from me. So Virginia is critical. Our polls close. It's closed at 7 p.m. tonight. We have a sense that there's going to be folks outside and around the doors. We won't get our East Coast numbers until 11, but Mr. Governor Romney and President Obama and President Clinton have been in my neighborhood at least 10 times in the last 35 days. That's how critical this area of Virginia is.
Absolutely. So it really feels we're just barely seeing some Romney commercials. Not a lot of Romney commercials because California is a blue state. We have a lot of requests to get out there and help other states. And I voted early, so I actually voted last week, and because I had things to do like this.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
I wasn't gonna add that to my plate. So I voted early, and so the polls, there were no lines, and it was serene, and all the people that work at the polls were really happy campers, and it was really a good time to vote because they were happy people. But I think that California does feel the anticipation of whichever way this vote goes, there are going to be a lot of economic changes. California has one of the largest economies in the world. If California was its own country, it would be number 8 in the world as far as what we make. So we're very much watching what's going on, and it really makes a difference. So Canada is our closest neighbor in this Solve a Sister group, and the president, whoever is the new president, always makes a point of going to Canada and speaking to your government first. That's the first international trip that they make. That's why the president was in Canada last time. That's a traditional thing. Every president does that, and Canada is our first stop. So what does this look like for Canada, Dr. Annie, and how what's the mood like there?
Well, first of all, hi, seeing all of you, connecting with you, and thanks, Letitia, for organizing this and being on Solve It Sister. What's like in Canada? Well, this morning I heard a joke about, well, so much is going on in America. It's always, meanwhile in Canada we have our own stuff, right? I think we're all looking forward to seeing who's the next president. I myself have someone or one particular person that I'm interested in, of course. Um, yeah, because we're so close, right? US and Canada, we're so close. There's a lot of trade going on. So whoever the next president is will affect a lot of policy, economic policy, military, and everything else. So yeah, so I'm watching action today, and yeah, looking forward to see the results. And I want to add something though. Yesterday I saw a friend of mine in the States post something on Facebook, and to be honest, I'm surprised to hear how long it took for some Americans to vote. Apparently, it took 7.5 hours of wait. Some of them took to 2:30 morning. So, to be honest, I'm surprised at how the election is going in United States. You know,
Yeah.
We have a tradition of elections being sort of contentious, and now we're at a state where, yes, it could be a lot easier, but they haven't implemented a lot of electronic voting in a lot of places yet. And then we also have the controversy of what it takes to vote in America. And so there are some places where ID is very, very stringent and you must have certain things. And there are some places where they're a little more lax. And no state is mandated in having like so many polling places. So for me to vote early, I did have to drive quite a ways, but it was definitely worth it. Now I can walk to my polling place today, but I don't have 2 hours today to stand in line. So that's why, I went early. But, we have people who have fought and died. I did see a posting on Facebook saying women vote, women's suffrage, women died so that you could vote. And so I wrote back, I said, not me, because it didn't include women of color. Women's suffrage was for Caucasian women only.
Yeah.
And that's great. It's not that, I don't think they should have voted. Of course they should have voted, but they were not including women of color. And I actually had a young woman walk up to me one time and say, well, when women voted, how come black people didn't start voting? How come black women wouldn't vote? And I looked at her and I said, is this a serious question or is this a joke? And because I was confused. It wasn't somebody I knew, and she kind of came up to me out of the blue like I was the representative for all black women in the world. So I just had to say, are you serious? You just need to go back and read history. So, our voting practices are tough.
Yeah. Let me add something on that because I definitely want to hear what's happening in the UK, how you guys are thinking about it. But today, historic in my family. I mean, 4 years ago, I have an aunt. She was 96. She registered folks to vote, and she went and voted. She's voting today. When January 16th comes next year, she'll be 101, and she is voting today in Kinston, North Carolina. And she shared with me when blacks were allowed to vote. Again, she's 100 years old now. She told me, in order to vote, she had to get on her knees and read the Constitution. And because she could read, she read the entire Constitution. And once she read it, she then was allowed to vote. So she has been voting. I mean, talk about living history. So I said, you know what? I have history right now in my family. A 100-year-old woman cast her vote today. All right, I'm going to bring my 11-year-old. I voted, my 18-year-old, first time ever voting. We stood in the lines. We did all that, but I wanted him to see what the experience was. And again, I was so impressed with all the young people in my polling place. I loved it seeing 21-year-olds and 19-year-olds out there. So it's a historic day in Virginia. We've got not only the president, which is important, but we have a fight like crazy for our Senate to go Democrat, and then we have another fight like crazy for the Democrats in Congress. So Virginia right now is a hot place to be, or not, right, depending on what happens tomorrow.
It'll still be the hot place because it's always an important location. And Dr. Yana, now you just had Americans invading for the Olympics, and now you got to be hearing about our election. Do you guys have election fatigue?
No, not at all. And thank you, hi, Solvit Sisters, and thank you for having me on the show. It's very interesting what's going on because I haven't watched the TV, but I've listened to the BBC radio. And just like how there may have been that buzz when it was the Olympics and all the celebrations here, the tables have turned. So now there's more excitement because all your voting is going on. And what I pick up on the most is this sense of excitement, this sense of urgency. You know, many people here might not get the demographic. They might not understand the distances between the states. They might not realize, you know, just how much ground is being covered by these presidents and how much work it must be, this campaign. But as always, America's set the standard. You set a really good example because you've got young people voting. You've got people who would never vote. And I think if people here could vote, they would vote as well, because it's almost like we want to be part of this. They get the fact that there's a change being made because people are taking the effort, and almost that's trickling down. And it will be interesting to see what happens our next voting round if we had the same kind of push and drive, showing people that they could make a change. So it's having a very positive impact of relevance. Almost people are getting it. Oh, wow, those people are relevant. Those people are doing something about it, and they're being the change that they want to see. So it's very good.
That's kind of exciting. That's very cool.
Yeah, it is.
Well, thank you for sharing that with me. I really appreciate hearing about that. So so we'll see what happens tonight, and but we're going to get to our very first Solve It Sister question. So I get questions, you know, when I travel, when I stay home, wherever I go, I'm always getting business questions. And you guys are some of the smartest people in your industry that I know. You and you're also very willing to help people. So here's our first Solve It Sister question. This comes from a blog poster, and he wants to know. Now, this is going to be general because I can't give you the details of his business in an open forum like this. But he just wants to know, you know, he needs to get more customers and clients. And he's a service-based industry. It is a one-on-one type of service where he would give, I would say it's in the massage type of service, that type of thing where it's one-on-one personalized service. And he's trying to figure out how to get more clients. And I'd love for us to take it from our different points of view and our specialties to give him our take on what it takes. So Dr. Annie is our life ambassador, and, you know, from the life coaching standpoint, I guess there are some mental changes he needs to make in order to get more clients. Would you say that?
Yeah, definitely. I think his fundamental belief system, right? What does he believe, and then how he's able to get clients is. So there are many aspects to go around talking about it. However, what I would like to talk about for his issue is probably look at niche, like what's his niche to really change that. Why I'm bringing this in right now is because recently I was talking to a friend who. She was doing something similar like everybody else. She was taking care of foreign students in Singapore. But what I liked was the niche that she did. I mean, that's a one-on-one business, right? You're taking care of each individual student. And her niche was very simple. All she did was she took time to contact the parents of the foreign students, telling them they can find one simple step, customer service. Whenever they have their birthday, she will actually spend or bring them a birthday cake or a present. And just because of this two little thing that she did for the foreign students and informing the parents that they're okay, right now, word of mouth, her business is growing tremendously just because she has this simple niche.
So there's other people who do that, but those two little things have kind of put her over the top.
That's right. I mean, imagine as a parent, I want to have the peace of mind. I want to know my child who is overseas, they're taken care of. I want to make sure that, oh, yeah, their birthday, you know, someone is actually watching over them. Just because she gave them the peace of mind, now her business is booming. Parents are referring other parents, referring other parents. That's the niche that you look at.
Okay, awesome. Francina, what's your take on that? He wants more clients.
Yeah, you know, and particularly since he's dealing with the service industry, when you just read that question, the first thing that came to my mind, because obviously, you know, we help people get jobs and all that, but we're a business, we deal with consumers. for me, what I've done to help increase our business, I had to really define the word more. What does more client mean to me? I definitely love the niche marketing because we definitely have to do that. But to me, is it more in breadth or you want more in depth? Do you want 100 people that you need to work with to give you $5 and make $500? Or do you want 4 people who can spend $125 and make $500? So the point is, some of this is really defining what does more mean to me. Now, let's keep it real. The 125 person, you're going to have to cultivate. You're going to have to build relationship. You're going to send those birthday cards. You're going to have to do follow-ups. You have to make it authentic and genuine. You have to, you want to be real. You want to show that you seriously have genuine concern for that particular client, because you not only want that client to close the deal, but then you want them to send 10 of their friends who can spend $125. So I think a piece, a lot of folks like to do, that think more is more, but sometimes more is less. Okay, sometimes more is less. So he has to make, in my opinion, he has to make a decision what that more client looks like to him. I'm all for the 4 people with 125. That's pretty much where I'm going these days. And then that's returning revenue. It's returning revenue because they trust and relationships equate to business.
Absolutely. Dr. Yana.
Yes. Okay. So, a lot of times when we look at our business and we think, who knows about me? So we have to look at how are we finding new customers. So even when we have a bunch of customers and we want to increase, we have to ask ourselves the questions, who did I tell? Who knows about me and who's going to speak about me to somebody else? Who's going to refer me? And we always have to think about the things we like and what made us buy into them. So if you saw a special offer or you bought into a service, sometimes you look at your own behavior to help you get some clues about what's attractive, word of mouth. What was it that made you feel like, oh, I could trust this service? And look at things like loyalty, recommend a friend, all these kind of marketing methods that you can use to continually refresh the message, and everybody should have the same message. So your USP and your strine, if everybody knows who you are and what you do, it's easier for that message. So if you're in a party going around the room, and by the time everybody said, oh, that's such and such, did you know he did this? They should say, oh yes, I heard about him. And that's when your message starts to become a brand and you start to become recognizable, even if they haven't met you. But if they've heard about you and they know who you are and what you do, that could also be a good thing, so that when they need you later on, they know where to go.
Very good. I like that idea. I always come from the fish from a hungry pond standpoint. So I'm always looking for groups of people who want the services at the price that I want to offer them. So I think these are some really great ideas. Thank you guys so much. We've answered that question, and of course a lot of other people have that question too. So I'm excited about that. Thank you guys so much. All right, well, that's the end of Solve It Sisters for today. If you've got a question, you can go ahead and send it to us. You can hit us on Facebook. You can hit us on solveitsisters.com. We've got the experts that have your answer. This is all about talk with a purpose. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.